Hi, I'm Ben Stanhope,
Hi, I'm Zach Leold.
and welcome to the Movie Vault. So now the Movie Vault is like 3 weeks ahead. So if we ever say anything that's like current,
I mean,
like about current
we're not
news,
we're not technically 3 weeks ahead. We just skipped 3 weeks. It's like when you skip 3 weeks of class and think that you're ahead because you have those past 3 weeks of homework done.
that's how we're viewing it.
I guess because we make the deadlines.
We're the professor and the student in this scenario.
Wow. Then why do I have a C?
I don't know. Yeah, like if we graded you on a 10-point scale, you missed last week, so like you already are like attendance is bad. You missed 2 episodes. I've missed none. I've missed 0 episodes.
Yeah, but let's remember we are not using the 10-point scale anymore, are we?
Well, we I guess we're not. You're right. So we are since we're the professors, we're also taking the liberty to adjust the grades.
Yeah, we got a curve.
Yeah, and we also have to set sail into our review at some point, which we're doing the movie Master and Commander: The Far Side of the World.
The far side of the world.
Which I often like mess up because I keep thinking it's like Far Side of the Ocean, or like it's just a super long name, you know?
Yeah, I still don't. I probably could not tell you what it is right now.
It was released in the year 2003 though, and grossed $211.6 million to a $150 million budget, with a Rotten Tomatoes score of a crisp 85%.
2003, for those old listeners out there, I was 1 year old.
Yeah, 1 year. And I was also 1 year old because I was born like a month after Zach.
Mm-hmm.
So back then, me and Zach were both not in the same state, and we were thinking of starting this podcast. That's what I was like. I was like just beginning to reason, like I need food. I like when my parents, do things that I like, and I also want to start a movie podcast with this orange-haired kid.
Yeah, like when they yanked the umbilical cord off, I was like, podcast, movie podcast.
They thought it was the weird thing they had to do, like testing on him.
Yeah, but
and
then,
me. They were doing it in separate places. And then we like got sort of like joint tested in one location. Okay,
they were like, oh, he's a movie podcaster. This happens every Tuesday, you know?
Yeah, and that's why there's so many movie podcasts. They didn't even know what a podcast was barely in 2003.
Yeah, they were really into iPod shuffles.
I don't even know that they had iPod.
No, they didn't.
They were really into recording things off of cassettes on the radio.
We're so young that what we think is old is the iPod shuffle.
Yeah, can you imagine having an iPod shuffle, guys? I mean, that's just crazy.
I think, like, if all the phones that we've had were iPhones, if you think about it, like in that stage of smartphone, like, I don't know. We never had to have a flip phone or anything.
No, I always wanted one. Like, I wanted a phone when I was like 10 or whatever, which obviously my parents weren't gonna let me have one. And I always thought those phones that like you could like push up and like start texting on them.
Blackberries?
No, they weren't Blackberries. They're like the phones that like flip on their side and then you like push them up and you can like text.
I think some Blackberries are like that.
Oh, maybe some Blackberries are like that, but those were I really wanted one of those.
Those are so dumb.
I know they were dumb, and they were clearly.
You have to you have to press on the letter 3 times to get to some letters.
This was one with a full keyboard, because that's the way it worked. It has a dial.
Those must be some
front,
tiny keys.
I know they were really tiny, and they were also manual.
They're suited for like 5-year-olds
with
skinny fingers.
Yeah, and I don't know really what I thought I was going to use the phone for, because I didn't know anybody else with a phone. So who was I even going to text? Like, I don't know what my plan was once I got a phone, but I just wanted to have one really bad, and I didn't get it till I was like 15, but whatever.
Oh, all right. Well, we watched
really
a movie.
On topic here. So I don't know that I mentioned Peter Weir directed this. Peter Weir also directed The Truman Show, which I will say is an extremely different movie than this.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't exactly know what the story is behind how they brought him in to direct this, or whether this was more of like his project that he wanted to do. I know that this is probably one of his later movies. He's an interesting guy because he did Dead Poets Society too, which is another movie that's like every English class basically has to watch Dead Poets Society, except for at our school we weren't allowed to. So it really makes you wonder, because the point of the film is kind of that, the traditional
Media.
School is like oppressing students from really their learning potential. And it's kind of ironic when a school doesn't let you watch that movie. That's the point. You know what I'm saying?
It's like when we make memes about North Korea and North Korea doesn't let their people see them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sort of. I mean, I'm not accusing the school that I went to. I loved it, but that was one decision that I thought, oh, that's kind of weird. Um, but anyway, I guess we should get into top
Yeah.
watch.
Well, hold on. Let me give you my phrase. This is a movie that weirdly combines sea warfare with scientific discovery. It's the Galapagos Islands mixed in with Jack Sparrow.
Yes, with a much less comedy and much more drama, I would say.
Yeah, and off-brand Jack Sparrow and off-brand Vision work together to try to balance war and science.
Yeah, the ultimate balance of war and silence. So, the watcher top notch.
Watch.
Watch.
I think it's fair.
It's
It's
for-
Russell Crowe.
I feel like if you're a real historical, like you like the past, you like wars in the past, and you really study them, then this would be kind of an interesting movie because you get to see like a naval like ship battle to battle kind of play out what the dynamics of that is. I'm not as much into that, so it's kind of harder for me to like be like all super enthusiastic about this movie, but I can say I appreciate watching this. And also shout out to Thomas. He's one of my cross country coaches. He really wanted us to review this, so that's why we're reviewing it. We probably took too long. Thomas is a very loyal listener, and we appreciate that. So we're finally getting to it, Thomas. So hopefully that will have you pleased. So the plot of this movie is not super. It was the first 50 minutes we watched without subtitles, which was a mistake because you need to watch this movie with subtitles unless you're like in a room that you can be really extremely focused.
Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward plot. It's just there's a lot of different details about it. It's just like they're chasing this crew on a ship is chasing the French ship because because obviously they're in the war and they need to.
They're supposed to be chasing it, I think.
But they're on the other side of the world, is what they mentioned.
Past Brazil.
Okay. Huh. Yeah, so I guess it's interesting. But yeah, so the England ship is trying to go for the French ship, and they're chasing it, and they go through a storm, and they go through other things, and one guy gets convinced that he was Jonah from the Bible and jumps off the ship to ease everyone's pain. Doesn't get swallowed by a whale this time.
Rather unfortunate for him that he wasn't actually Jonah.
Yeah. And then they go. Paul Bettany, Vision, wants to go to the Galapagos Islands to study some things. And he goes there eventually after getting shot by accident because one of the crewmates was trying to shoot a bird and shot his crewmate.
Oops, accidents happen, right?
Like, I'm trying to recall this as it. I kind of forget all these things that happen, but like I'm trying to recall as I go ahead.
There's quite a few obstacles that get in their way.
Yeah, I'd say that. Like, and it's about the two main characters are Captain Jack Sparrow. I mean Captain Jack, whatever, and Vision. And
Vision, the doctor / scientist.
Yeah, Dr. Vision. Dr. Vision Dr. Vision wants to go study animals and stuff like that. That's kind of why he's there. Like, it's his interest, and he wants to pursue science and help eventually, like, the world, I guess. And
Jack Aubrey and Stephen Maturin.
Yep.
That's their names.
Yep. Yeah, I'll call him Captain Jack and Dr. Vision.
So that way you know who we're talking about through the whole episode.
But then they kind of get in a lot of disagreements because Captain Jack wants to keep chasing the French ship. Dr. Vision just he doesn't want to chase them anymore. He thinks like it might be a lost cause, that they might be in over their heads or something like that, and that they're wasting resources and everybody's suffering and overworking. But Captain Jack wants to keep going. Maybe it's a pride thing. I don't know. Do you know?
No, I think it's a sense of duty combined with pride. It's like a battle between he's not sure in his mind whether it's because he has to accomplish this, or it's like if he doesn't try, it's like he gave up, and it's his responsibility as like a captain of the Queen's ship. I think it's the Queen's ship. Maybe it's the King's ship. I don't know who is in power at this time, but to like responsibly, carry the vessel on its mission. Technically, though, I think after they passed a certain point, they weren't required to go further, and they were past that point. But it was kind of like, now we've gone this far, we might as well keep going also.
But then after Dr. Vision gets shot by accident somehow, that was the dumbest thing that any crewmate could do. Um, Jack Sparrow, Dr. Jack, whatever, Captain Jack.
Dr. Jack.
Captain Jack goes, and he goes to the Galapagos Islands to make him happy, and he gets to pursue his science. But then he's looking at a beetle, right? And he looks in the distance, and the French ship is at the Galapagos Islands also. Whoa, dun dun dun. So then,
I kind of thought it was just gonna end with the beetle, and then it was like, oh,
yeah. So then they fight. English win. Yeah. I mean, that's really it, right?
who should we really have been rooting for though as Americans? Like we don't really like the British.
I was going for Dr. Vision. I love Paul Bettany.
You went
so,
on
like,
the side of science.
even if he was like, yeah, because he was trying to figure out, like, he was trying to pursue science, and everybody else was trying to, like, of course there are different things, so I'm not going to say any statement or anything, but, like, I don't know. Like, everybody was, like, fighting and stuff, and he just wanted to pursue science, and I feel like a lot of times that's just maybe what I'm like. Everybody's punching each other.
And Zach's just like, here, I just want to read my research paper in peace. I don't want there to be an argument in the next room while I'm rocking in my hammock.
Yes.
But yeah, that's a pretty good summary of the plot. And if that doesn't intrigue you enough, then maybe this is not the movie for you. But if you like ships, you will like this movie because almost the entire movie is on a ship, basically.
If you, when you were a kid, were in the bubble bath and had a little toy pirate ship, then this is the movie for you.
I also think it's a good notable to point out that the Acheron was the French ship, and it was really fast and like super technologically advanced, and they were just like salivating over it at the start of the movie about how like they had a little model that someone made, and they just thought it was so cool.
Yeah, it's
We
the
have
Tesla ship.
Yeah, it was the Tesla ship of its day.
Yeah.
I don't know. They should come out with the Tesla ship.
A Bugatti.
Hey, Elon Musk, when you come on our podcast, which is going to happen in a few
Next
weeks.
month, yeah.
Yeah. We would like for you to talk to us about, I know you haven't released anything about the Tesla ship, but we know it's coming.
Yeah.
So
actually, I think, guys, he wanted us to reveal it because we have such a large platform.
So this is actually just a whole mirage. This podcast episode is actually just about the Elon Musk's Tesla ship.
It's called the SS Tesla.
Very creative name. And it's also doubles as a as a rocket to Mars.
Yeah.
They're gonna shoot off the rocket from the ship. It's a huge ship, so it has like there's like enough room. It's kind of like an aircraft carrier, but like 20 aircraft carriers.
And it can only fit one person.
Yeah, but because there's so much room, like equipment.
Yeah. Like there's ATVs,
and
grills.
it's all run by AI. So
Yeah.
like they don't need people. You only need one person to like kind of oversee everything. Maybe go fix something if something goes wrong. That's all you need.
Yeah. It's Elon Musk's son that is the voice.
Zay is A12.
Yeah.
Ship, sail. And then it just goes.
No,
Voice command.
it's coming out now, so he's a baby. Ship, sail.
He's like, he doesn't know anything other than he's like being trained just to like run ships his whole life. And eventually when he gets older, he's going to realize that there's more to life than just this ship that he's on.
Elon Musk is the type of dad that would raise his son to perform a specific task or function, right? So he'd raise his son with certain keywords or code words and put a chip in his brain and be like, son, take out trash. Yes, father. It takes out the trash.
I've raised completely obedient children.
Yeah, like I feel like in some ways maybe his I think they're just boyfriend and girlfriend, Grimes. What if Grimes was just implanted with a chip and that's how she became pregnant, and then
I don't know. This is certainly a theory.
And it's really a robot.
It could be. I mean, the whole Grimes Elon Musk relationship is kind of odd because I didn't know. I don't really know what I like Grimes's music, but I didn't know that like there was just a weird and odd mixing, but it also like makes sense at the same time. I don't know.
Elon Musk just hosted Saturday Night Live.
He did. Much controversy was involved in an episode where he was just like kind of just not funny, kind of like SNL in general.
I thought he was just being himself. You know?
He is. He's the most relatable billionaire out there, which
Yeah.
isn't saying a lot, but like he's a lot more relatable than everyone else.
He's the richest out of all the rich people, I trust him the most.
Yes, I would agree.
Put a chip in my brain.
What
No,
that
don't.
says about us, I'd rather him put a chip in my brain than other people.
Yeah, like Bill Gates or Melinda.
Or
now they
Jeff
have separate...
Bezos. I don't know. They just seem more. I don't know that I have any evidence for any of this, but they just seem more, like they're hiding things. Elon seems a lot more open.
Yeah, it's
about
like
everything.
Jeff is already at
It's more that he's open. It's like that he's an
Oh, yeah.
open. Like he tweets what's on his mind. He's just kind of like an open book versus being like very calculated. Calculated people are scary.
Yeah, that, but like Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, like they don't know what to do with themselves. They're at the top. Like they've already made all the billions. They don't know what to do. Elon Musk is still working 20...
Because he's an actual engineer.
Yeah, 18 to 20 hours a day.
Yes.
So like these guys are just waiting, and like obviously they're just gonna come up with schemes and stuff like that. But Elon Musk is still pursuing stuff. He's not done. Like he's a billionaire. Like he's one of the richest men in the world. But he's still like going for stuff. And I'm not like, maybe he's a crooked guy, but like it doesn't seem like it.
He probably is to some degree a crooked guy. I would just, I don't know anything about anybody, but it's interesting as far as like if I was going to go for one side or the other in terms of if you have to pick a billionaire, it just seems like he's the most attractive option right now.
Yeah. And now he's a father. He's relatable.
And this has so much to do with the movie that we're talking about, like so much because it's
kind of forgot where we were for a second.
Exact same time period. I feel like that kind of conversation is like if we were on YouTube, people would comment like, "Oh, based," like based. I don't know. I don't even know what that means exactly, but that's what people would comment. So I'm just gonna comment it for them.
Comment on Spotify.
Oh yeah, you can't. Oh, that's kind of the point. All right. So the quote of the movie that I have is kind of a stereotypical one, quoted by Captain Jack. It says, "England is under threat of invasion, and though we be on the far side of the ocean of the world, not the ocean, and this ship is our home. This ship is England. So it's every hand to his rope or gun, quicks the word and sharps the action."
Very, very good.
Very inspiring, really made me want to get up, and I wasn't even in the movie, but, it was kind of like, oh, wow. And it also shoehorns, the title of the movie, or part of the title of the movie into it, which is kind of cool.
Trains,
You'd
and
be like,
automobiles.
wow, that's the title. Like, wow.
Wow.
But not everybody appreciated this movie. In fact, Tony Medley has some beef, because you can always be a pessimist.
Tony, come on.
He's our outsider review for today. And I always love when we pull outsider reviewers who have their own websites, because I don't know how that ends up as like a, I guess as long as you have enough reviews, you can get on Rotten Tomatoes. That's how it works. So you just have to be a film nerd and blog everything, and then you'll get on Rotten Tomatoes eventually. That's the key. You just have to have enough time. I don't know how people have enough time.
TonyMedley.com.
So yeah, go. I don't even know that it's still up, but if it is, you can go read his review of this. And he says, "The film shows how wonderful it can be to be a Hollywood captain instead of a real captain."
And which I agree with completely. It seemed like Russell Crowe's character did not have to deal with too much, whereas his crew was like being put through all the shenanigans.
But you know what he is gonna have to deal with? The
Insurance
insurance on
companies.
the insurance on his boat that he doesn't have.
I know.
When he sails back to London, and he's trying to explain to the Queen all the damage, and the Queen's like, "Oh, I didn't insure this boat. Like, what am I gonna do now? I have to pay out of my own, the royal fund." And he's not gonna be in favor with the Queen after that. He should have made sure on his own that the boat was insured. And who could he have called?
Ghostbusters.
Well, after Ghostbusters.
Hedman England Agency.
That's right. They can help you with your auto, home, and business insurance, and presumably they can also help you with boat insurance. It seems like that would go under auto. And if they can't, I'm sure they can point you in the right direction as well. But they especially can help you save on auto, home, and business insurance. So if you're interested in saving money, which in this type of, when the gas prices are rising.
In this economy, you want to save money. Not in the other economies, but in this one, you want to save money.
If it's a good economy, then blow all your money. By all means. But in this economy, you want to be saving money. You don't want to be paying for expensive insurance.
Yeah. We live in America, not Dubai.
Yeah, exactly. So having expensive insurance doesn't mean that you're more rich. And in fact, it means that you'll probably be more poor because you're spending more money. Right? So it's not like, you know how you think if people buy more expensive cars, they're more rich. It's not
Yeah.
the same with insurance. Nobody
No.
knows what insurance you have. Don't stop buying insurance to like impress people.
Yeah.
You know, get insurance that actually saves you money. So call 614-486-7300 if you're interested. That's 614-486-7300. And yeah.
And be sure to tell them that Zach sent you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and Ben.
Oh yeah, and me. Last week I just said Ben because you weren't there, and you haven't heard that yet. 'Cause
Never
you haven't
mind.
listened to
Forget
it
that
yet.
Ben said Ben this week. We need to even it out.
Okay. So we're going through our 10 categories as we now do to review the movies. We don't use the number system. This will probably be like one of the last weeks that I explain it, unless we really get such an outcry that people want it back. But I don't think we're going to. So we're just gonna go with this for now. So sentimentally, Zach, how do you feel about this movie?
You know, it was okay. I don't love it. So I like historical movies. I love the movie Lincoln. I recommend watching that.
Spielberg.
Yeah. But it's Daniel Day-Lewis. That's one of your favorite
Oh, yeah.
actors. But
I will drink your milkshake.
Russell Crowe is different. A different choice, you know? He's a different breed. He's built different for this. So he's Gladiator, you know? He plays kind of I'm going to choose my words. He's more of a gladiator type rather than
A ship captain type.
yeah, like I don't know. And they seem similar to other people, but for me those are two different distinct roles for the actor. But I thought Paul Bettany as the science nerd was actually played really well. And I know that's acting, but like that's just the characters meant something to me.
There was a lot of other characters in this movie too, but the relationship between the two main characters,
Dr. Vision and Jack Sparrow.
yeah, was really what like stands out about this movie because it's kind of what the movie is truly about, I think. And so sentimentally, it was like at first it was a little bit hard to get into, I think, but once you sort of got invested into the characters somewhat, then you started caring a little bit more about what happened instead of it just being like random
That's
ships
true.
fighting in the ocean.
It did take a while, but it definitely got there because by the end I was like, "No, he got shot.
Yeah.
You dummy." That's
Yeah.
it in my
So
head.
so even though this movie probably won't be in my favorites, you know, probably won't be on too many lists that I make, I think I can still find a place that I like respect it a lot, especially like the craft that it probably took to make this movie.
Oh yeah,
But it doesn't stand out as much on a like artistic level in terms of uniqueness as something like The Truman Show that Peter Weir did. And it doesn't have and while like Dead Poet Society isn't too like experimental or out there either, that one has a lot more emotional tie-ins that I think help the movie. So out of the Peter Weir movies I've seen, this one's probably my least favorite, but I still think it's a very well-made movie and a very ambitious movie too.
yeah, I thought it was good. Like there was a lot of practical effects, especially with like the ship. So you could tell they were like the set was very elaborate. I mean, I know it mostly took place on a ship, so like the set was just that. But like they fit like 200 people on a tiny little. It's not that tiny, but like on a ship, and everybody was in close quarters. So like they really did make it seem like a pirate, like you're in a ship.
Yeah, like you realize how tight everything is and how hard it would be to live in that kind of condition.
And to be honest, it was probably grosser than that in real life.
Probably. They
'Cause,
probably
like-
had to tone it down a little bit.
Yeah, because everybody was probably taking dumps in buckets, and
Yeah.
like everybody probably a bunch of people were seasick, throwing up, and
I'm
more
wondering
fights
how
broke out.
realistic it was, how much wine and like nice food that the captain's quarters had. Like,
I feel like captains
I
got
guess
a lot.
I guess wine can store for a long time though, so they could have had a lot of that.
I feel like captains got it well.
They did. I mean, definitely.
But once you run out, you run out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they were really far away at
Yeah,
that point,
that's
so
true.
that was kind of like they're not restocking anywhere.
Yeah, was that ever a problem?
No,
anyone? Oh,
no,
okay.
but I mean, it wasn't a problem with food. They did have a problem with water with the whole Jonah thing.
Yeah.
But because I think they could fish and stuff, and they could go to land enough to get enough food.
I think it's funny that it just randomly takes a turn to like, this guy's Jonah. Like we get introduced to
So
this
let's get into
character.
message because
Okay,
of that, because I think
okay.
this more falls into message.
But like, I feel like it's just interesting because it just automatically switched the gears to like introduces this character, and then everybody thinks that he cursed God, and that's why God is not letting it rain. But the funniest thing is, so after he kills himself because he's convinced that he's Jonah and he's the curse, it actually rains the next day.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, so he actually was the curse is
Yeah.
sort of what it implies. Like, it sort of feeds into or maybe it's either making the point, it might be making the point that, like, it's coincidental, and he could have, like,
Waited one
he
more
could
day.
have waited one more day and it would have rained. But, yeah, I don't know what you're supposed to.
But that's not what I got from it.
It took up a good chunk of the middle portion of the movie. It seemed like sort of a diversion.
Yeah, because that had nothing to do with the rest of the movie.
Which, this was a long movie, so if there's anything to cut out of this movie, it was definitely that.
Yeah, that had nothing to do with any
Okay,
movie.
okay,
Now that
that's
I think
true.
of it.
Because that character, I barely even noticed that he existed until they started, like.
No, because the first time you see him is when he's walking up the ship, and then the second time you see him is when that guy shoves him.
That's the first time I really noticed him, was when he got. Well, I guess I noticed him walking around and them, like, whispering. And then, yeah, they shove into him and they, like, flog that guy because that's disrespectful.
Yeah, but why? Yeah, because everybody diverted their attention to that storyline, and then it went away, and that was it.
Yeah,
I get it. Like, it's integral.
It's another obstacle, but I don't even know that it's integral is the problem.
No, it was integral in the only aspect being that it needed to rain.
Right.
But
they could have just not written in that it didn't rain.
Yeah.
You know.
Like, they could have just said they were waiting to rain and everybody was starving, and then it rained.
Right.
But they didn't need it was just interesting.
It didn't add to the main message of the movie, which is the relationship between the two characters, and which is kind of character arcs, but I think it relates to the main message of the movie, which is I think that there's like, even if two different people have two different missions, there can be, like, room that you can work together on things, is kind of like what they're trying to show.
Compromise and relatability, yeah.
And, like, helping each other rather than being at each other's throats. Like, okay, what is the ways that your skills can help mine and my skills can help yours?
Yeah,
because we're both here on this ship together, so we might as well be on the same team.
Yeah, working together, and even specifically, like, sometimes war isn't everything, and sometimes ambition isn't everything. Sometimes you do have to, like, move forward in different ways, like maybe pursuing science or different things like that. Obviously there are more elements going on, but, like, what the focus should be at the time. But then also from the other perspective, like, there is an urgent war going on. Like, that's what they signed up for. That's what their duty is. They were sent by the Queen to do this. So, like, they shouldn't be taking detours, like, during the war just to explore. So, like, there's a side to it on both sides. Like, I thought it was interesting that this was a storyline in a war movie. Like, I'm glad they put it in because, like, that's new.
Well, the movie would not have been that interesting without it, I don't think.
Yeah.
Like, I think it adds another element of, like, an outsider's perspective on war, too, because he's not really the Vision character, Steven. He's not really somebody who's like, in tune with war like everybody else is. He didn't really sign up for it. He was more there to, like, explore on the side and be the doctor. I mean, he was a doctor, so obviously he's, well versed in wounds and all of that, but he clearly is not, like, a huge fan of the whole thing, and he even pushes against, like, some of the traditional ways of disciplining. The captain even accused him of being an anarchist at one point in the movie because his ideas and his viewpoints on different things are just so different. And so that contrast really helps to, like, accentuate or be, like, the viewer's perspective, kind of, I guess, because most of the people watching this movie aren't going to be people who are, like, know a lot about war and especially not war in the 1800s.
That's funny because maybe when they made WandaVision, they based it off of this movie because Vision is kind of like, he's discovering what Wanda is like as we are discovering what Wanda is like. So he's, like, the outsider perspective taking our side of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably not. But we like to connect things.
Yes. No, that's a factual connection right there.
Yeah.
That's totally the right. We talked to the guy. We talked to Kevin Feige, and he was like, "Yep, that you got us."
Matt Shackman too. He wrote the script.
We were talking to Peter Weir, and we were like, we ran it by him, and he was like, "Yep, go ahead."
Matt Shackman and Peter Weir are cousins.
Is Peter Weir even still alive? I don't really know. He might not be, actually.
Oh, poor Peter.
He's from Australia. No, he's still alive.
Oh.
He's still alive and well.
Good job,
Good
Pete.
job, Peter.
Yeah.
Good job staying alive.
He's my second favorite Pete
Who's
director.
your Pete Davidson? No, he's not a director.
Pete Doctor.
Oh, Oh, yeah, Pete Doctor is better.
Yeah.
It's very close. I mean, Peter Weir has had some pretty good. I mean,
It's not close though.
It's not
Pixar
close.
level.
Okay, it's
yeah.
not close.
No.
But the thing about Pete Docter is he has not made as many movies as actual director. I think he's had a hand.
Yeah,
in,
but
like,
Pete
every
Docter
Pixar.
directed Up.
Up and Soul and
Yeah, but-
Inside Out.
yeah, but-
that is a trifecta of movies, and that's not even counting Monsters Inc., which is incredible. Like those four are like almost flawless. If you think about, there's not very many flaws in any of them.
I think of Monsters Inc. and Up way above Inside Out and Soul, but I still think highly of Inside Out and Soul. It's just Monsters Inc. and
See,
Up
I think
are
you're
so great.
You're either an old Pete Docter person or a new Pete Docter person. You're
I'm
not
both. I'm both. Don't worry.
No, but more of. Like, I'm both too, but...
Yeah.
Although I think I would say that it's like, for me, it's like Soul, then Monsters, Inc., then
Really?
Up,
Okay.
then which those three are, and then it's Inside Out. Because Inside Out is really good, but it's just, the other three are better. But plot, I guess we mostly talked about plot. It's
We
the only
went-
one
yeah.
that doesn't really fit into this without rating it.
Yeah.
It's a good plot. It's what it needs to do.
Yeah.
Character arcs. There's a few character arcs that are outside of the main characters, like the kid, who I don't know what his name is. But
Blakeney.
Blakeney?
Yeah.
Yeah, he like sort of comes alongside the scientist guy, kind of geeks out.
I liked him.
And then there's some other sidekick of his who's like an older guy. Then there's obviously the Jonah character arc, which we already ripped on kind of. We thought it was kind of stupid.
It is.
And it didn't really fit in with the main plot arc of the movie. Then I will say though, as much as I like their relationship, the arc between I think the arc between the Captain Jack and Steven could have been better. Because it was very like there was a lot of tension, and then it was like immediate, like, I'm gonna make up for you. No, I'm gonna make up for you.
Yeah.
Like they were like immediately back to being like, I want to give, like, I don't know.
It was like in the MCU, Hulk has his whole storyline, and then all of a sudden he's Smart Hulk, and you
Yeah.
don't know how he got there.
Yeah, it's sort of like that. It feels like things turn so on a head that it's kind of it's sudden. And maybe things do happen like that in real life, that people make sudden realizations. They sort of like change everything. But it feels like more often it takes a little bit more time to develop those. And I've definitely watched movies that handle that better, but they're also more centered on the character arcs as an integral part of the movie versus, like war scenes or anything else. So I think that's kind of where there's not necessarily the time when you're wasting it on Jonah plots, and then you're legitimately having like really good fight scenes that
Yeah.
are taking up time. So you're not going to have as much time to like maybe explore those intimate details of the relationship.
But they could have if they cut out the Jonah scene.
Exactly. Imagine what they could have done with this movie. Maybe this movie would have been my favorite movie if they would have cut out that part and added something else in. Probably not.
Replace Russell Crowe with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh, okay.
And then
now we're talking.
keep Paul Bettany.
Jake Gyllenhaal would have been like Donnie Darko.
Add
Jake
in-
Gyllenhaal though.
Add in a few more argument scenes. Add in a resolution argument scene. Add in a physical fight.
Add in Timothy Chalamet as the French captain.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. And Harry Styles as Blakeney,
As Blakeney.
and a younger Harry Styles. And then you got a perfect movie right there.
So they were that close.
Yeah, they were only 4 actors away.
And they really had to wait for Jake Gyllenhaal to get
Thing
older
is,
too.
they would have lost money if they hired all those actors because they were expensive actors.
That's true. That's the movie that I just watched with Jake Gyllenhaal had him playing 2 characters. So it was basically like they just paid Jake Gyllenhaal because they couldn't afford anybody else. They just made the movie so that they could just have Jake Gyllenhaal basically playing the whole movie.
He's expensive though, right?
Yeah, I mean he's hot, he's top. He's very good. He's at his best when he plays an obsessed character, kind of. So, but as far as cinematography goes, I have no complaints with this movie. It's very well shot.
Yeah, the shots of the ocean with the ship, that was good.
Yeah. Extremely well shot. I mean, I don't really know that there's much else to say. Like, anything that has nature in it and is interesting, and they pull off, like, big ships and stuff and make it look realistic, yeah, gets an A in my book, It's good cinematography. Probably if I was still using the rating system, I'd probably give it a 9 out of 10. You know?
Wow.
Probably. Who knows, though, since we're not using it.
Yeah, we never truly know anymore.
As far as acting goes,
I thought Paul Bettany did a good job. Russell Crowe's okay.
He's the star of the show. Let's just crown a star of the show every episode now. Like the best
that's a
actor
good
of the
idea.
movie.
Paul Bettany.
Paul Bettany is the star of the show. And then
Blakeney.
biggest disappointment. I'm making up these categories now.
For me, the biggest disappointment was Russell Crowe.
I know exactly. He. The thing is, he's fine. He's like completely fine.
But I'm not gonna remember him.
But I'm not gonna be like, wow, Russell Crowe is so amazing.
I'm gonna remember Paul Bettany.
Russell Crowe and the Nice Guys. I'm gonna remember.
Or when he's ripping heads off. Yes, we'll remember him.
Or when he's in Noah that I haven't watched. I haven't watched Noah. It's directed by Darren Aronofsky though, which is
wow,
like
he really
super
likes
random.
to drive ships, huh?
Yeah, that's the thing. He's like the water character. Like he's gotta be in like when it's raining. You know, they go like,
He
oh,
should
we
be
really
the last
need
Airbender
we
reboot.
need Russell Crowe. I was looking at his other filmography. He's in a bunch of stuff. He was in that movie Unhinged. You know, he's also gonna be Zeus in Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah, I know. I'm so excited for that. I don't even know. Like, he better be good at that. He better not be driving a giant water
I also
ship.
did not realize that Zeus was in the MCU, but apparently he is. So
Yeah, they have all different types of pantheons: Greek, Norse.
that's what I was like, because Zeus is a Greek god, not a Norse god. So, but I guess it makes sense that they would put in the Norse. As far as other actors go, I don't know. This movie would do horrible on whatever that scale is that tracks how many female characters get speaking lines, because there's absolutely no female characters.
In the whole movie?
The Bechdel scale or whatever it's called.
Yeah, the Bechdel
In the whole
test.
movie, there is not a single female actor of any kind like that I'm seeing listed on here, which is kind of insane actually.
I never noticed that.
But it's probably realistic though.
Yeah.
Like to the time period and the historical period.
Yeah,
So,
especially since
I
they
don't-
didn't go on land.
Even though it will completely fail the Bechdel test, I feel like this one should be granted an exception, because I don't know that you're gonna be able to like make an. I mean, I suppose there might have been a woman or two that might have been on one of these ships at some point, but
Maybe
it
all
might
of-
not be likely.
maybe all of the executives were women. We have no idea.
We have no idea. We're not gonna look.
Yeah, because we don't actually care that much.
Style excellent. It's basically the same as cinematography. Like, you know, it seems like it captured.
Yeah, it did a good job.
If I was a time period expert, I could like pick apart, you know, their clothing, but I'm also not, and I'm also not going to do the research. So I'm just going to.
Nobody had a face like Russell Crowe back then.
Nobody looked that dashingly handsome or dashingly average.
Yeah, I'd say average. So I'm so sorry. I'm really like making fun of Russell, but like Russell, come on.
Please come on the podcast. But also, this wasn't your best movie.
No, I hate Russell. I just decided.
We have strong opinions on Russell Crowe.
Yeah, we just.
I've never even watched Gladiator, so I don't really know.
It's so
what
funny
he's like.
because our generation just can only have strong opinions. We either like something or hate something. There's no middle ground, and like it can be the smallest thing, and we hate them.
Yeah, and we have to you have to decide. If you don't decide like that, like you then you can't get in an argument on some comments section somewhere.
Yeah,
you
that
know?
is true because like nobody's ever left it like I don't need to have an opinion.
Yeah, that's exactly the problem. Everyone's just like they'll see something that irks them, or if somebody says something in a way that they don't like. So then that makes you want to take the other side. When somebody says something in a way that's like kind of like prideful or like kind of like
Even if they're right.
even if they're right, then you just want to take the wrong side because you just don't want them to like be able to act like that. You know?
Smug.
Yeah.
Just want to punch
You don't
them
want
in the face.
Yeah, you don't want them to like look like they're better than everyone else. So you're like, I gotta take the opposite opinion, and then you end up making. I read these paragraphs on Instagram, and I don't know why I do this, of just people arguing over random stuff that doesn't really matter that much, and they must spend hours of their day because they're writing paragraphs, and I'm just like.
And Ben spends hours of his day reading these
And
paragraphs.
then I sit there and realize I'm like, wait. There were two real people who spent time doing this, and now I'm reading. Why am I reading this?
It's only in the crevices and nooks and crannies of the internet can you find these weird things, especially Reddit.
So maybe that's like the point of this movie. Oh wait, this has nothing to do with the point of this movie. But maybe it's that like not everything really matters that much.
No, or you just don't. Sometimes you don't have to have an opinion. Sometimes
You don't really know enough to have an opinion either.
Yeah,
like
just-
you haven't done enough. You don't have enough knowledge to formulate an opinion.
It's
even.
okay to be uneducated, but if you're like pursuing education, if it's important, right? But like you don't make I can't talk. Don't make an uneducated opinion And also, sometimes you don't have to have an opinion. Like, sometimes stuff just isn't important.
Yeah, exactly, and that's okay. Like
Yeah.
you can move on with your life, and it is, uh, yeah. I guess we're just picking apart. We're just like rambling on the shortfalls of our generation, which maybe would have been the shortfalls of past generations. They just didn't have the tools to be able to really like, act on some of these.
Yeah, we have. I feel like it's kind of like the tools have expanded, but also limited us because now we don't have like interpersonal skills.
Yeah, exactly. we can't talk like I don't know. The internet like makes every relationship like not like you don't care about the person's feelings because you can't see what the person is like looks like. Even a lot of people argue from like fake accounts, so you don't even know what they look like at
Yeah.
all. You don't even know what gender or what
There's a
anything.
biological
Like,
aspect to it because like you have to see and feel sometimes to like experience another human, but like when you're looking at a screen all day, sometimes you lose sight of that humanity on the other side of the other
exactly, it
screen.
becomes a lot more like analytical, and it's probably dangerous at the end of the day. So you got to be
It
careful.
definitely is dangerous. Like you just saw this week, there was like a hacker that hacked a bunch of gas things.
That was a moral though. He's a moral hacker or the organization because they only hack corporations.
Yeah.
But it's like, but that's also just like so dumb because they obviously affected a bunch of people who weren't the corporation.
Well, you know what was also
They-
dumb? That they gave them the ransom money.
Well, what else are you gonna do though? They kind of have you in a bind.
Yeah, but then they're gonna do it again.
I know. So it's like an endless loop because I mean I don't know that they really have the like because hackers are always ahead. Well, now we're really getting out in the sticks. But my main point is hackers are always ahead. Cybersecurity is always behind. So that's going to be really just a tough challenge.
Yeah, but if
because-
you don't increase cybersecurity, then the hackers will just create systems that they can duplicate, and then everyone can have access to these things. So cybersecurity is still needed, even though it's behind.
Exactly. So don't give up on. If you're in cybersecurity, I applaud you and recruit all your friends to join. But I'm also not smart enough to do that.
They
So.
just need an override data chip that can do anything.
Exactly. It sounds like a lot of power though.
Sounds like Hal.
Okay, so choreography.
It was actually pretty good.
Yeah, it was good. There was good hand-to-hand combat scenes, good choreography of the ships.
Yeah, I liked it when people fell in the water
Yep, very
because it made me like.
impactful. The guy who drowned, it was very sad.
Yeah, it was confusing.
I wasn't exactly sure which character that was and why I should care about him, but I did sort of care.
I wasn't
about him,
really
and I
that
was
sad. Yeah,
Or maybe
because
not
you
sad.
saw a human. That's why.
I saw a human. Exactly. That back to our point. See, some of our tangents sort of relate to the movie
when
in
we
some
force
ways.
it.
Oh,
Then
yeah.
it's just Ben realizing that it's just him and I talking in,
Or
a
what
room,
if
in
it's
an
just
empty
me?
room.
What if I just invented Zach because nobody will talk to me, and like Zach is just a split person? Okay, I've watched too many movies now at this point.
Ben, don't you realize that we're just literally talking into a microphone right now? Isn't that weird?
Yeah, but I'm imagining like a bunch of people listening to us as we talk,
Like a whole crowd?
which is probably like less than the actual amount of people who will actually end up listening up to
Ever.
this point ever in our lifetime.
You never know. One of us could become famous, and people will scour the internet for these types of things.
Yeah, and they'll be like, "Wow, they put out hours of content with zero popularity. They were crazy." All right, so my overall grade for this movie, I decided, is a B.
Yeah,
it's
I
very
was gonna say
solid.
B.
Very solid. So that kind of lines up with exactly where the Rotten Tomatoes would be, 85%. And while that would be very high on our old rating scale, probably would have been, if we're gonna curve it back to our old rating scale, it probably would have been like a 67.
Yeah, probably.
But
Which is pretty. It's okay.
which is pretty, yeah, it's pretty, at middle of the road. But it's just very, there's not much to complain about, except for the Jonas sequence in the middle. But there's just not a whole lot that particularly stands out outside of some of the visuals and the storyline with the characters, which is not all that unique in the grand scheme.
Yeah, it was a
of
long
movies.
movie, but not a lot felt. It didn't feel like a lot happened.
Exactly. So I can appreciate the grandiose and ambitious aspect of it without being like, this is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. So that's pretty much where I'm at. All right, so plot holes and things I didn't like with Britta Moments with Britta.
Perry.
I had to do that by myself last week, by the way. I had to say the Perry part.
I can't wait to listen to it.
Eventually, maybe we'll.
Did
like
Jake
that,
laugh at you?
That'll be. Yeah. He didn't. He's never watched Community, so he didn't understand the reference at all.
Oh, it's so embarrassing. I'm so glad that you had to
But
experience that alone.
I still did it though. Like I still sang the song.
Oh, I'm so glad that you had to do that by yourself.
Yeah. This is also like it's a big step of self-confidence that I sing it every week because I am not that good of a singer. So just be like that confident and just get it out there on the mic.
Ben, you be yourself. Okay?
Exactly. I'm gonna go on American
step
Idol.
out
Okay.
on that stage.
I'm gonna be the next big talent because everyone has a good voice. You just have to figure out the right style to put it against.
Most people have a good voice. You have to find out the style that you put it against.
Exactly, because
Most people, though, not everyone.
some people are physically incapable of singing well
Yes.
against any style except for something extremely experimental.
Someone who is mute.
Something more like noise. Okay, that would be difficult. But maybe you could still
that
make
would be
some sort.
impossible.
No, you could still make like noises with your tongue. And you could somehow make that into a beat or something. Like nowadays, like you could do lots of things. That's the other thing you realize about singers is that they like use so much audio editing, not necessarily auto-tune, but
Especially
like
rappers.
editing. Oh yeah,
Rappers. Are they're just talking.
You
into
ever
the
go on
microphone.
Genius and then like you hear rappers and like on their Genius and they have to like kind of like sing it to the camera? They are so much different on the actual like it's
I be
crazy.
flossing.
But it's also because like what they're saying, like how fast they have to say things and the rhythm that they have to use is just much more difficult. But that's sort of beside the point of Brita moments. What did we not like about this movie? The Jonah sequence.
Yeah, and then just how it was kind of empty, maybe.
Yeah.
Like it was a big jar, like it was a big grandiose jar, but they didn't put a lot of jelly beans in it.
Yeah. You kind of have to really dig for the jelly beans. Like you really have to kind of pick apart the movie on a really deep level to really.
Maybe they did put the jelly beans in, but like they didn't complete the storylines or introduce the storylines. They were just kind of there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, it being historical fiction is interesting because I think sometimes when you watch a movie like Lincoln that's somewhat based on like real life events, I don't for sure know that this is not based on real life events. I'm kind of assuming that. I actually don't really know because it says it was a personal project of Fox executive Tom Rothman. So that's how this movie got started. I just don't know whether there's any amount that this is like there's some truth to this at all, or whether it's just completely made up. Because it is hard to like connect to it as a historical sense when it's not like there's nothing that's really like you have no. It's like during the Naploeonic War, but that's pretty much all you know. So it's kind of really putting you out there in the far side of the world, by yourself. I guess that's the point. I don't know.
That's why it's called Far Side of the World.
Yeah, I think we figured that out. I think the reason it was called Far Side of the World is because it was on like the side of the world that was like kind of far away from where they started.
Then why was it called Master and Commander also?
That is a good question.
Who was Master?
Why did they name this movie the name that they named it? Master and Commander, because that's Jack.
They should have named it. I know what they should have named it. SeaWorld. That would be good.
That would have like bumped the rating up for sure.
Because they're in the sea and they're on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
SeaWorld far.
SeaWorld far away from home.
Yeah. SeaWorld 2, Free Willy.
Was Free Willy no, Free Willy was before this movie, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah.
I've only seen like the like fourth Free Willy that was like made for DVD. It was pretty bad.
There's a fourth?
Yeah,
there was a third and a second?
It was made for DVD, okay? So it wasn't like a theatrical released movie. It was just like one
Did
of
they
those
like
movies.
CGI in a big
I don't know.
orca?
No, it was like they were in South Africa.
What?
Yeah. And there's like they own this like rundown resort, and there's like a whale that got stuck in there, and they had to free it. Basically, that was the plot.
So there's 4 separate whales in these 4 separate movies, and they're all named Willy.
I've never.
Does that make any sense? It's just like it just so happens that the 4 different whales that they free in the 4 different movies are all named Willy.
Yeah, how does that happen? Okay, we need to talk to. Also, how do made-for-DVD movies even happen? Like,
Who buys DVDs?
That's the thing.
Blu-ray.
How are they a sustainable form of business? Because I've seen some made-for. I don't know how I saw them because I don't know why I was watching made-for-DVD movies, but they're really not that good at all.
Well, sometimes
so who's watching them? Why would you want to watch? No, there's so many other better movies you could be watching.
Sometimes the movies are so bad, not like bad, like inappropriate, that they have to go directly to.
Okay, that is true, but those are more like
they're super gory.
That's more like unrated cuts of movies, though.
Yeah.
That you're talking about.
Yeah, you're right.
But I don't know. It's just, I don't know about direct-to-DVD. Hostel 3 was direct-to-DVD. I heard it was pretty not that good. So, although Hostel 1 was not really that good either, so.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Okay. We haven't gotten any feedback. So, send us
Well, we haven't done anything, so that's not our fault.
Actually, the feedback we've gotten is, why haven't you guys done anything recently?
Was it really?
Well, yeah, I think somebody talked to you earlier.
Yeah, they
right?
did. Yeah, you're
And
right. You're right.
And they were like, you haven't done anything, so now we're doing something. Although this will be like a couple weeks after you heard that.
You won't get this message until a while. Sorry.
And then I'm sure this person will know who they are. I also don't know if this person will make it this far into the episode. But if you did, then I'm really glad. So
it's a he.
Okay.
Gender reveal party.
Oh boy. Okay, what is your final conclusions on this movie?
It should have been named SeaWorld. It was pretty good. Russell Crowe, more like Russell Throw Up. I'm joking.
He did okay. No.
He did okay. Paul Bettany, Paul bet on me.
Paul, you're sexy.
Yes.
I don't. That kind of
sexy-any. Paul Sexy.
Okay. Next week we're doing another movie, guys, and if we do it next week,
I don't know if you can't tell, but it's 1:30 a.m. right now.
Yeah, usually we do this like way later than we probably should, but we end up doing it late anyway because that's when we have time.
And the funny part is, during the school year, Ben are like, we're gonna have more time to do it in the summer. And now it's the summer, and we're doing it at the same time.
We're like, we still feel like we're shoehorning it between like our schedule, and like trying to fit in sleep, but still not getting enough because we're staying up. Anyway,
we'll get there.
I guess that's just what life is like.
Yeah, I guess.
Life is like a box of chocolates.
You never get what you want.
It's terrible.
I like chocolate.
Life is like a box of chocolate because I wanted a box of Oreos,
which we have.
So, but life is not like that box of Oreos because that's too good to be true. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what anyway, it's late. Okay.
Life is like a box of marbles.
My life is like a box of Zacks. It's really disappointing.
How many Zacks can you fit
keep
in a box?
giving it another chance.
How many Zacks?
I don't know.
What size box?
What size box is this? I mean,
8 foot by 6 foot.
Okay, if we tried to fit you and Burleson into a box, how big would that box have to be?
Well, you'd be more likely to fit 10 of me than one of Burleson.
Oh, okay, that's fair. Yeah, I don't know. I only say that because his first name is Zach, so that's another Zach.
Zacchaeus was small.
Because I didn't specify that it was only Zach Leewald.
Yeah, so. If I cloned myself 80,000 times.
Yeah, that would be scary. I would be a little scared, but the world would also be a lot more efficient if that happened.
Probably, but it would also have no, it would get really boring.
Hello? Yes. What may I do for you? Okay, bye.
Yeah, no conversations. Just quick, right to the point.
Right to the point. Just like this podcast has been quick, right to the point the whole time. Right?
Yeah, we only spent an hour going right to the point.
Yes, exactly. Okay, it's time to close the vault.
I'll do it.
All right, yeah, you do it.
All right.
Since you were here last week, I had to do all the heavy lifting. I mean, Jake had to do all the heavy lifting.
I can't lift. All right. Now it's time to close the vault.
Paul Bettany.